Hello friends, welcome to the Point. In this session, we'll discuss about the Sino-India relationship, that is, the India-China relationships. So, India-China relation. So, this is an important topic for GS paper 2, International Relations Perspective of the UPSC exam. So the People's Republic of China, which in short it is called as PRC, it was established on October 1st, 1949, and India was the first non-communist country to establish an embassy in People's Republic of China. On April 1st, 1950, India and China established a diplomatic relations. So these two countries also jointly expounded the Panchashil, that is the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, in the year 1954. India and China, they marked the 1st of April 2020 as the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between them, which was starting from 1750 till now. At the geopolitical level, China and India, they have a much in common. So both are ancient civilizations that carry the scars of past imperial conquest. So both are rapidly modernizing and they are regaining their status as a global trading and economic powerhouse. And China and India, they are the two most populated nations and they are collectively home to 1/3 of the world's population. So there is a regular interaction between leaders and officials of both the countries, including at the highest political level. So despite this commonalities, China and India, they have been unable to resolve their shared boundary and other tensions. So there is a recurrent theme of conflict and cooperation that is witnessed in various facets of bilateral relation, which we'll be discussing in this session. Strategic issues in Sino-India relationship. So India-China relationship is also called as Sino-India relationship. So in the year February 2017, China and India held their upgraded first ever strategic dialogue to shore up bilateral ties. The strategic dialogue, it is latest among over 30 dialogue mechanisms to have emerged over the years between the two countries in areas as diverse as politics, economics, regional and international affairs and culture. The strategic dialogue, it was preceded by senior official level dialogues between India and China covering issues of Afghanistan, multilateral diplomacy, including the counter-terrorism, nuclear issues as well as a bilateral relations. So these talks were being held in the background of local differences between the two countries on a host of issues, including India's concern over the 46 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor, which in short it is called as CPEC. So Beijing's reluctance to back India's application to join NSG and the UN ban on Azhar as well as China's protest over the visit of Taiwanese parliamentary delegations to India. So China blocked US proposal in the UN for designating Pathankot attack mastermind and Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist at UN in the year February 2017. So the two-day talks between India and China, it failed to end the deadlock between these two countries on issues that is related to Masood Azhar's listing as a global terrorist and India's membership into the Allied Nuclear Suppliers Group, that is NSG. So India made it clear to the Chinese officials that overwhelming evidence and support it had been gathered against Pakistan-based terrorist called Masood Azhar. So for proscribing him in the United Nations, and that the burden of proof is not on India. So New Delhi had also acknowledged that on India's membership of Nuclear Suppliers Group, Beijing still remains stuck to its weave of procedure and processes, which is different from others in the grouping. So India also reiterated her concerns on the China-Pakistan economic corridor that passes through Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It passes through POK, making it clear that it was a sovereignty issue. So despite that, India also said that the bilateral relations have really acquired a very steady momentum over many years, and the leadership level meetings, they have been taking place regularly, and the economic engagement is growing, and they are seeing cooperation on many international issues, and our border areas have maintained peace and tranquility. So apparently, referring to the differences, India admitted that there are natural issues which neighbors have, and it is the responsibility of both the countries to address them. So the border disputes between India and China. The McMahon Line boundary dispute is at the heart of relations between China and India. So in the early 20th century, Britain sought to advance its line of control and establish a buffer zones around its colony in South Asia. And in the year 1913 to 1914, representatives of China, Tibet and Britain they negotiated a treaty in India. That is the Simla Convention. Sir Henry McMahon, who was the Foreign Secretary of British India at that time, he drew up the 550-mile or 890-kilometer McMahon Line as the border between British India and Tibet during the Simla Conference, so which is now called as McMahon Line, which is drawn primarily on the highest watershed principle demarcated and what had previously been unclaimed or undefined borders between Britain and Tibet. The McMahon Line, it moved British control substantially northwards. The Tibetan and British representative at the conference, they agreed to the line, so which ceded Tawang and other Tibetan areas to the Imperial British Empire. And however, the Chinese representative refused to accept the line. Peking claimed territory in this far north down to the border of the plain of Assam. So the Chinese have two major claims and what India deems its own territory. One claim in the western sector, that is on the Akshay Chin, which covers 38,000 square kilometers in the northeastern section of Ladakh district in Jammu and Kashmir. So this is apart from 5,180 square kilometer of territory in Gilgit-Baltistan region in the Sakshagan Valley of Jammu and Kashmir, which was legally ceded by Pakistan to China in the year 1963. So the other claim is in the eastern sector over Arunachal Pradesh, which is covering around 90,000 square kilometer and about 2,000 square kilometer in the middle sector of India-China boundary. Beijing has stated that it does not recognize Arunachal Pradesh. So India accuses China of illegally occupying Akshay Chin, while China accuses India of occupying areas in Arunachal Pradesh, which it calls part of southern Tibet. The Chinese government does not recognize the illegal McMahon Line and it considers it as a symbol of imperialist aggression on the country. So these claims and counterclaims have meant that the line of actual control, the de facto boundary after 1962 war, and it is yet to be physically demarcated on the ground. As a result, different perceptions of the lack, that is the line of control, has led to several border skirmishes and incursions. The line of actual control, it covers 3,488 km long border between them, while China says the border dispute is confined to 2,000 kilometers, mainly Arunachal Pradesh in eastern sector, which it claims as a part of southern Tibet. India asserts the dispute covered the whole of the line of actual control, including the Akshay Chin occupied by China during the 1962 war. And it is to be noted that China has completely settled territorial disputes with 12 of its 14 land neighbors. So Tibet lies at the heart of Sino-Indian border dispute. So India harbors fears founded on Tibet's geostrategic settling. China's annexation of Tibet was 60 years ago. It removed India's political buffer, and China was enraged at India's grant of political asylum to Dalai Lama. Also because of China's Western development strategy, India now sees the network of airstrips and air bases that China has built throughout the Tibetan Plateau, along with other widespread infrastructure development projects, especially highways, roads, rail links and airstrips, as providing the logistical wherewithal for a Chinese invasion across the border. Therefore, the Tibet geostrategic setting is effectively the source of the mutual threat perception and alignment patterns that dominate the Sino-Indian relationship. Geoeconomics also shape the Tibetan Plateau's strategic value. The Tibetan Plateau is estimated to hold approximately 40% of China's mineral resource, including coal, gold, lithium and copper. So it is also the world's third largest freshwater repository after the polar ice caps, and it is a source of most of Asia's major river systems, including the Yellow, Salween, Irrawaddy, Mekong, Brahmaputra and Indus rivers. So the issue of water management for projects such as flood control, irrigation and hydroelectric powers, it offers China the potential for enormous influence and leverage over downstream riparian states like India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Pakistan and so on. So moreover, China's plan to dam the Brahmaputra river in the Tibet, it features heavily in Indian security calculations, given that the consequences of China turning off the tap upstream, it could be disastrous for northeast India. Along with that, China also started the practice of issuing stapled visa to Indian residents of Jammu Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh despite strong Indian protest. So it has become a constant flashpoint, and recently a trend has emerged that the clashes take place just before the start of major dialogue between them. Efforts made to resolve the dispute. So when the special representatives were appointed in the year 2003, the two sides set off a three-stage process. The first stage, it is an agreement on guiding principles and setting political parameters for the settlement. And the second stage, it focuses on working out a framework of settlement to be followed by the final step of drawing the boundary based on the framework agreement. So during China's premier Wen Jiabo's visit to India in the year April 2005, the two sides signed an agreement on political settlement of the boundary issue, which sets the guidelines and principles and thus completed the first stage. And in the agreement, China and India affirmed their readiness to seek a fair, reasonable and mutually acceptable solution to the boundary issue through equal and friendly negotiation. So when talking about this landmark development, India and China, it signed a border defense cooperation agreement in the year October 2013. So border defense cooperation agreement, it was signed just to maintain peace and tranquility on the line of actual control. And both the countries, it reached a comprehensive agreement to avoid border tensions and army face-offs along the line of control by deciding that neither side will use military capability to attack the other side, nor tail patrols along the border. The two sides, they are to establish meeting sites for border personnel as well as a telephone and telecommunication links on the line of actual control. So this is a hotline between the two military headquarters and it is also under consideration. So crucially, India and China, they have also agreed that if the two sides come face to face in areas where they have differing perception of the line of actual control, both sides shall exercise maximum self-restraint and refrain from any provocative actions. So under this, periodic meetings will be held between the officers of the regional military headquarters, specifically between the Chengdu military region and the India's Eastern Command, and the Lanzhou military region and Northern Command. Higher level meetings between the two ministries of defense will also be held apart from the working mechanism of consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs and the India-China annual defense dialogue. Under this, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he urged visiting China's President Xi Jinping to resolve the boundary issues after holding talks in New Delhi in the year September 2014, and our Prime Minister called for an early clarification of the line of actual control which presently separates the two countries, which he repeated during his visit to China in the year 2015. So what was India's preparedness for border infrastructure? So under the Narendra Modi government, India's infrastructure development along the border with China, it has picked up, though it has rolled back the most ambitious military plan for the boundary. The formation of the 17 Corps, which is India's first dedicated strike corps for mountain operations. So despite that, India is at least a decade away from matching the infrastructure of Chinese side, where most posts have direct road access. And across Tibet, a massive infrastructure projects have come up providing easy access to the border of Chinese military. So, and according to the latest statistics, only 24 of the 73 roads are identified along the line of actual control with China, and it has been completed till now. So of the total of 61 roads with the length of 3,409.27 kilometers or with the border road organization, while the other 12 were entrusted to agencies like Central Public Works Department, NBCC and State Public Works Department. So this slow pace has extended the planned date of completion of balance of roads till 2021. So apart from this, India is also constructing some critical bridges in northeast which will cut down time for troop movement. So this was recently inaugurated, that is a 9.2 kilometer Dola Sadia bridge, which will cut down the distance between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh by 165 km. India has also been activating airstrips abandoned after World War II or 1962 war, and it deployed frontline jet fighters in the bases along the India-China border. So this is about the border disputes about India and China. So in the next session, we'll be discussing about the Doklam issue between India and China. And what is it, China's argument, and what does India stand about it. All this details we'll be discussing in the next session. Thank you.